We've all been there. When you first come to bhakti, you're like, wow, this knowledge is extraordinary. This explosion of like a realization about how amazing bhakti is. What also happens at that stage is your pride goes up.
You initially put yourself forward for a service with sincerity, like you want it to serve Krishna, and then somehow Krishna disappears and it becomes about serving the self.
The level that you are able to sit with truth, it is actually proportionally linked to how much you can progress on a spiritual path.
What was being a monk like? And I give this example, I say, it's like looking at yourself in the mirror naked, but it's all your insides that you're seeing.
All of the envy, all of the pride, all of the imposter syndrome, all that gets purified simply by hearing about Krishna. Before we jump into this episode, I'd love to invite you to join this candid spiritual community to hear more conversations that will help you become happier, healthier, and more healed. All I want you to do is click on that subscribe button because I love your support. I love seeing all the comments pouring through, all the love pouring through, and we're just getting started. I can't wait to go on this journey with you, whether you're a spiritual seeker or you're just curious about the topic. And we really hope that our conversations will provide you food for thought and inspiration for your own spiritual journey. So join us for honest, candid discussions about spirituality for soul's sake. Soul family, welcome back to For Soul's Sake, a podcast which aims to give you spiritual guidance and transformative messaging in an accessible and relevant format. We're once again back, my friends and I, Stina and Nam, joining us for this roundtable special of For Soul's Sake. And today our topic is around purity versus perfectionism. Hear me out. It's about letting go of I'm not devotional enough. Many people struggle with this, feeling unworthy, feeling not ready to share spirituality or to even receive spirituality because of a feeling of lack or a feeling of unworthiness, unqualified. That's a big thing in bhakti circles, being qualified, the adhikar to receive bhakti. And so we're going to talk about that and all things spiritual imposter syndrome. Am I making any sense here? Anyone want to give me a little something?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
Should we go on with the verse then? What have you chosen for us today now?
Let's go into the verse.
Where are we going? Bhagavad-Gita, what?
We are Bhagavad-Gita chapter 9, which is the most confidential knowledge. A very powerful chapter. I think we've brought a few verses from here. So today's verse is verse number 30. And it says, even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated in his determination.
That is risky, that can't. Well, abominable means like, say, if someone's, let's go extreme here, someone's killed someone. Does that still make them saintly if they perform devotional service?
I think people, it's really interesting. When we were studying this verse years ago, it was that abominable action in this verse is things that are done by accident, not a premeditated action. So it's things, accidents are forgiven, but the second part of the verse, no one seems to like register.
Right.
And it says, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he or she is properly situated in their determination. Because they're properly situated in their determination, so their intention. And so it wasn't a deliberate, premeditated thing, right?
They're remorseful.
Yeah, they're remorseful. What do you think, Stina? What's going through your mind?
I was actually, immediately my mind sort of went to, you know, when children make a drawing for their parents. And they really do their best, and they're drawing like a sheep that looks like a cloud with two legs sticking out.
Yeah.
And then the parents, they take that and they go, oh my God, thank you so much. It's so beautiful. And they put it on the fridge with a magnet and then it hangs there. And the parents aren't judging the kid's artistic skills. They're looking at this kid really, they came from love and from wanting to draw something for me. And I think it's a bit like that in this verse, isn't it? That Krishna is looking at the endeavor, the effort, the integrity, the place that it's coming from.
Yeah. And even the place that the mistake came from, right? Not just the positive efforts, but where did the mistake come from? What were you dealing with? Do you accept that to be a mistake?
So Krishna sees our sincere efforts, but okay, let me backtrack here. It's also like heavily discussed around humility and feeling not qualified to receive as well. There's a, we understand that if we are proud with our spiritual efforts, then we're not going to receive grace, or that we're not going to receive the purification, and we're not going to receive the devotional service that we yearn for. So how does that all fit in? Like, how do we piece that in? So yes, okay, Krishna accepts all sincere offerings, but then we can't become proud of that. We also have to somehow see ourselves as unqualified for the grace that we're receiving. So how do these two things fit together?
It's interesting, right? Bhakti is like this. When you read the poetry of like the saints and sages in the Bhakti line, all of the poetry and songs are basically talking about how unqualified they are.
Mm.
And it's like, I love you and I'm yearning for this Krishna Bhakti, this love of Krishna, right? This spiritual love. But I'm so unqualified. When we as like beginning Bhakti individuals, we look at these sages, we're like, dude, you're not unqualified.
Deep.
You're deep. But it's almost like the mood of Bhakti is to never feel qualified, because you understand that Krishna is ever expanding and infinite, and you are a finite being, so you can never really match up to Krishna's love. So it's almost like, I love you so much and you're so great and ever expanding that I can never do anything that would really satisfy you. Therefore, I'm unqualified. And like, that's the underlying mood of Bhakti,
it's
right?
in context of Krishna.
Right.
In the context of the greatness of God, I am finite.
Right.
But
exactly.
not to then go, I'm so bad, I am so terrible, I'm so, because that's just being self-absorbed. So
It's
there
not
is
a
a
lack of
difference.
self-worth, or it's not self-doubt and self-worth. It's no, but I just understand how great Krishna is. So it's,
And how do you catch the difference?
Yeah, so I think for me, when I think about it and the way I make sense of it is it rooted in my false ego? Is that where it's coming from? Because actually, sometimes when we go, oh, I'm not worthy of this, it's because I've made it about me.
Right.
And actually, it's not about me.
And how do you catch it though? Because it's like, it's also a fine line. Like I theoretically know this already, but then also I catch myself going, oop, I just went a bit self-absorbed, my disqualification there, or like not, what would be kind of the precursor step? So say someone is trying to act with humility, but we've seen that, right? Like we've seen that in Bhakti circles, like people, if it's not us, we see it from the outside, that those are endeavoring, but then there's also this, okay, it's not really humility, it's self-absorption. How would one identify that within themselves? Or what would be a practical thing that someone could do to sit with that? Or any words of wisdom?
I think sitting with it is a good advice.
Yeah.
Like,
Sit with it. Just sit with it.
But also, is this rooted in truth?
Mm.
Because I think often with pride, that's rooted in falsehood. It's actually, there's a distinction there, right?
Blind, proud person, and you have a blind person who sees a proud person who sees reality. So a blind, proud person is someone who's proud but can't realize that they're proud. You ever met someone who's really puffed up and they just can't see how egotistical and puffed up they
Everyone else
actually are?
can see it, yeah.
Everyone else can see it. It's obvious, right? But to that person, they're totally, this is normal. But with Bhakti, you see reality and you see your inner self. People always used to ask me, they say, what was being a monk like? And I give this example. I say, it's like looking at yourself in the mirror naked, but it's all your insides that you're seeing. Everything on the inside's coming out and you're seeing it more than ever.
Yeah.
So with Bhakti, the natural cause and effect is you realize how proud you are. And I think, just what Steve was saying, if someone genuinely sits down, sits with it, and they have the right intention, and they score themselves out of 10, how humble am I really? How much is an act, and how much do I genuinely think, like, I'm not deserving of this, and the glory should go to others? And when we really, by ourselves, answer that question, I think it's really telling, right? In front of others, I think it's harder we always want to show our best self and we don't want to admit the weakness, but if we sat with ourselves, I think it's a good start.
You know, I've noticed like really, in my eyes anyway, advanced spiritualists do when they're faced with a really proud person. They won't correct them. Because there's an understanding that Krishna cares for us as human beings and as living entities, and therefore that will all come with time. And one of the hardest things for me is like seeing someone develop in their bhakti over a period of time, because we've got the kirtan concerts and we've got retreats, and you can see the development of people as they kind of absorb themselves deeper in the practice, and you can see levels of what they're going through. And one of the hardest things for me is to not say anything, but it's also a lesson, because one of the things that I've noticed is that when I do say it, it comes generally from a place of pride that I've noticed it. And so it's been a blessing actually to catch myself and say, don't say anything, because Krishna's going to do all the work on that person. That the purification process, like sifting gold. So have you seen that? I've recently been on my feed getting this guy who puts rocks in a plate and like sifts it. I mean, that's what I'm noob scrolling. So sifting it. It's like, that's what the bhakti process is. Like through all these experiences and devotional services, and through meeting different mentors and teachers at different levels, you eventually bring out the gold. You eventually go, okay, yeah, look, Krishna, this is now for you. And I realized I was quite proud.
Is it Richard Rohr or maybe it's just Kaylee who says it, and he always quotes Richard Rohr.
We love you, Kaylee.
I'm not actually really sure.
Yeah.
We absolutely love Kaylee.
Kaylee said it, actually.
Yeah. But that when you point a finger at somebody else, there's three fingers pointing back at yourself. And and it almost feels like the level that you are able to sit with truth is like it is actually proportionally linked to how much you can progress on a spiritual path. The two they're so linked. There's like ability to really sit with truth about yourself.
There's just on that, actually, there's a beautiful literature in the bhakti world called Madhurya Kadambini, and it's basically the science of the emotions and stages one goes through in their bhakti life. So the first stage is called, in Sanskrit, it's called Utsahamai, which means initial enthusiasm. And it's this stage which is so interesting. We've all been there. When you first come to bhakti, you're like, wow, this knowledge is extraordinary. Yeah, I'm going to do this. This means like this. You have this, very, it's explosion of like realization about how amazing bhakti is compared to the rest of your life. But also happens at that stage is your pride goes up. And it's said that that's needed just to get you going. But then the next stage is that you basically just start to flatline. You just get humbled. Something will happen. You'll get crushed in one way or another. Whatever's right for you, Krishna will decide. And you get humbled. And then the hard work starts, or what is known as the bhajan, that the practice starts. And you have to really build that enthusiasm back up again. And I think that's, there's almost like a place for pride in bhakti.
There is, yeah.
Right? There's a place for it because we needed it to feel like, yeah. And then Krishna kind of levels us out when he knows it's probably counterintuitive at this point.
Because initially it's like that, right? You initially put yourself forward for a service with sincerity, like you want it to serve Krishna, and then somehow Krishna disappears and it becomes about serving the self. And then that's the kind of like Maya, the Utsaha, the Mayic enthusiasm, the illusory enthusiasm that it's not really for Krishna, it's for me. Then you get humbled, and then it's like, okay, Bhajana Kriya, you have to then do the practice. You have to do the deep practice of reading and then finding attraction for Krishna and learning about Krishna, hearing about Krishna. I remember when I went to Vrindavan for the first time, I went on this retreat called the Govardhan retreat. It happens in a place called Jatipura, and on the how can I say this? On the other side of Govardhan Hill. And for 7 to 10 days, I just heard about Krishna. And I swear to God, after like 3 days, I was going crazy. I was like, I can't hear a single thing more about this person. And then I realized, wow, how little taste. Like I claim to be a Krishna bhakta, and yet when it comes to hearing about Krishna, I feel like this is revolting. I had to read it. Like, I remember one night I went to my room and I was like, what am I doing here? Like, do I really want this in my life? And then the next day you wake up and then you sing the songs and you feel like, okay, you're back on the path. But I think that that's really been the nice, the humbling and the best practice for someone who has just started finding an attraction for Krishna is, go out and offer yourself a service and be enthusiastic and find a role and your place in the bhakti society and communities and whatnot. But then in tandem, hear about Krishna constantly. And it's described in the Krishna book, which is like a summary of the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, that by hearing about Krishna, all of that stuff becomes purified. All of the envy, all of the pride, all of the what was it, like the imposter syndrome of where do I belong, and all that gets purified simply by hearing about Krishna. Test it out. Practical point.
I like this because it speaks to this notion that you don't have to be perfect to practice bhakti, but that actually the whole process is you just practice, and then the purification comes.
Yeah, fully. How does one deal with the inner critic? Because, okay, we've talked about humility and pride and how to navigate it, but I get it all the time. Like, I want to serve Krishna, but then the inner critic also holds me back. Like, any thoughts?
What does your inner critic say?
That I guess I get so wound up and tangled in what if this is not what pleases Krishna, what if this isn't actually going to be beneficial to the service of my guru? What if people are saying that it's a good service, but actually it's not?
Inner critic stems from us thinking that we're the controller. Like, this is the one statement in the Gita Krishna is saying again and again and again, you are not the controller. You can't even make a blade of grass move without my will.
Wow.
And I think the inner critic is so interesting because, like, things like self-doubt and self-worth and inner criticism, all this kind of stuff, even though it's kind of like we as humans see it as us being lowly and us being unqualified or not having the particular strength or whatever it may be, is actually still centered in the self. It's still centered that we are going to do this. It's still centered that Krishna is not really part of this decision.
But it goes back to this, we've made it about us.
Right.
Exactly. We've made it about us, right? And it's that actually, it's not about whether this thing's going to please this person or whether this person is the right thing for you. No, your job is just to endeavor. The Bhagavad-Gita is just literally, no, just endeavor. I'll handle the rest. If I don't want that to happen, I'm not going to make it happen. If I want it to happen, then it's going to happen.
Right.
I'm actually going through a bit of a process of this at the moment where I've been asked to share kirtan at this event, and I didn't tell anybody for like 3 weeks that I had this invitation, because I was just like, well, first of all, when I read it, I was like, I think there's been a mistake. I don't think this was meant for me. Like, genuinely, I was like, I don't think this was meant for me. And then I sort of, actually, the more I sat with it, the more I realized I was like, if I'm being asked, that's because Krishna wants me to serve in this way. And then it's for me to make the endeavor to learn the skills I need to be able to do that. And then I need to step up. And I'm sure that there will be guidance coming along the way with, should I continue doing this? Should I not continue doing this? Like, where am I? But again, it's about actually, I think, it's like when we get asked to serve, not saying no because we feel inadequate, because then, and that's exactly what I felt, but then I've made it about me.
Yeah.
Right? Then it's about, oh, am I going to make a fool out of myself? Am I going to do this or that? And
the thing I always say to people is, like, whether it's the meditation and chanting, whether it's doing kirtan, whether it's reading, we don't read for knowledge. The knowledge bit is secondary.
It's fully secondary.
We don't chant because we're trying to experience some other states of being. We don't do kirtan because, like, we're a good singer. We do it for purification. Like, that is the reason. These are all purificatory activities. These are all cleansing activities, cleaning the heart. I don't read, and you could read loads and be like, yeah, look at me, I know so much. That wasn't the point. The point was to purify you.
Anya bilashita shunyam, to become unalloyed in our devotion.
Yeah.
That's purification. Purification doesn't, and that's the thing that I think we define, that purification doesn't mean tapasya and it should be suffering. Purifying doesn't need to be like harsh. It can be, but purification is the process of coming to loving Krishna in an unalloyed fashion. Right? There's no other motivation. Anya bilashita. There's no other thing. I just want you, Krishna. That's it. That's all I want. All I want is, I want to love you. I want to tell you once, face to face, that I love you. I'm yours, and maybe one day you can tell me that you are mine. So it's just that's the whole process. That's what we're working towards. And as long as that's the kind of goal, like people ask, like, what's the goal with the kirtan? To fall japite japite koile pagal, to fall madly in love with Krishna by chanting. That's all I want. That's all I want. And it's like that, getting to that point it seems so close. And then you try and practically do it, and it feels so far. And I guess that's almost also the beauty of Krishna Bhakti and Bhakti Yoga, that it's a love in separation, that, it's almost like at your fingertips, especially when you're in Vrindavan, or, even when you're in the ashram. Like, if you dedicate 5 years, 1 year, 6 months, 1 week to exclusively exploring your relationship with God, then it feels like the purification process is happening. It's all happening. And if you try and run away from it when that happens, then you're just going to slip back into the pride and the imposter syndrome and all that, the false self-absorption and all that stuff. So yeah, beautiful. Shall we do some soul seeds?
Yeah.
I'm feeling like this is the moment for soul seeds. Here we go for the graphics. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. So soul seeds, who's going to go first?
So my soul seed would be that instead of worrying about how proud you are, instead of worrying about whether you've got low self-esteem or you've got self-doubt or low self-worth, I would worry about the fact that you are right here, right now, experiencing what you need to experience for some sort of internal change.
Wow.
What am I supposed to transform? What am I supposed to internally learn from the experience that I'm being exposed to? Regardless of whether I'm approaching it with a lot of pride, or whether I'm approaching it with a lack of self-esteem, it doesn't matter. It was never about us and how qualified or unqualified we were to do it. It's about the fact that destiny has given you that activity, and just be open to what experience it's there to give you. I think that's the best way we can deal with that.
Nice little seed there. Thanks, Nam.
That's great. No pressure then.
Yeah, I know.
No.
Here we go.
I think my soul seed is around this, the notion that Krishna isn't judging our sort of the action or the results of what we're doing, but he's looking at what's the endeavor, what's the effort we put in, and the sincerity with which we are doing our bhakti. I think.
His Holiness Radhanath Swami says something similar, that Krishna, the capital He, Krishna, he appreciates the stumbling sage more than the perfected yogi. And that's so endearing, because it means that I'm trying, but I'm failing. And this is a prayer by, I hope I don't get this wrong, it's from A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. He says, I'm trying, Krishna, but I'm failing. But you please help me to try and love you. You help me to try and remember you. And I think that that's a nice approach to spiritual practice, a nice approach to devotion, is that I'm trying. I'm unqualified, but you give me qualification. So anything good that you see in me is you. Anything bad that you see in me is me. And I'm working towards it. And I think that for me, the soul seed would be to recognize that Krishna loves us, that God loves us, and to also see each other like that, to see each other with that same lens as well, that yes, okay, that person has got that quality, and I'm recognizing it because I see it in my own heart, and that's the only reason I recognize it. But Krishna loves them too, and they're trying, and we're in a hospital of the material world, and take me as I am, and I'll love you as you are, not for what I want you to be. So anyway, there's a few different things. We could do a whole different podcast on some of those things, but some soul seeds from my side. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was a insightful and loving and somewhat humorous at points conversation, one that you're going to cherish for some time. Feel free to watch it again. Content doesn't need to be just watched one time. Share it with a friend, take some notes, ask us questions in the comment section. We want to hear from you. Thank you so much for being with us on this episode of For Soul's Sake. See you on the next one. Haribol. If you loved this episode, you'll absolutely love my interview with Londrell on finding God in the present, being here, being now. Go check it out.
The best advice to be here, be now. It's like, it's all here and you can't escape it.
Yeah, right.
The worst advice is be here, be now. It's all here and you can't escape it. And so you take the good with the bad and just be here. At the end of the day, just be here. It works both ways.
Yeah.
But it works for the greater good.
Beautiful.